Hey guys, welcome back to another story online. Yesterday we read this story, The Reluctant Dragon, an Usborne reading book, and it mentioned St. George and that dragon too. So I thought today we could read this story. This one is a bit more intense. It has bigger words, more language to learn from, and the dragon is not as friendly as this one. Okay, so I think you might enjoy this book just as much, and let's get started. Here we go. St. George and the Dragon, Usborne Young Reading, retold by Louis Stowell, illustrated by John Joven. St. George and the Dragon. Chapter 1, The Deadly Dragon. A king was strolling on his battlement one day. As he admired his kingdom, he saw a dark shape in the distance. What could it be? It came closer and closer. Oh no, said the king. And closer. Wow, that is a scary dragon. It was a dragon. Its eyes flashed like fire as it flew. It let out a mighty roar, and jets of yellow flame shot from its mouth and nose. The king screamed, "Help! Guards, to the roof, now!" The dragon soared in a loop around the castle. It roared again, and the river far below dried up with a sizzle. The king's guards rushed onto the roof to see what the king was shouting about. The dragon roared once more and set 5 fields on fire. The guards stared in horror. "Stop that dragon," ordered the king. "It's going to burn us all to cinders." The guards hastily fired their bows as the dragon swooped through the sky. Arrows flew through the air. Went the arrows. Each arrow hit the dragon, but then, ping, 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 bonk, bonk, bonk. The arrows all bounced off the dragon's tough scales. Just bounced right off. The dragon laughed. "Ho, ho, ho, you can't hurt me, but feed me once a day. I leave you alone." Oh, the dragon can talk. The king agreed. What else could he do? "Bring food to the cave by the lake," said the dragon. And with one last roar, it flew away. Okay, so the dragon is gone, and the people need to bring him lots of food. Chapter 2, Feeding the Beast. The next morning, the king's guards crept to the cave. They left 2 fat, juicy sheep for the dragon to eat. Poor sheep. When they came back the next day, the sheep were gone. The dragon ate 2 sheep a day until there wasn't a sheep left in the kingdom. Many days went by and all the sheep were gone. "We'll have to feed it cows instead," sighed the king. The next morning, guards brought the dragon 2 cows. As they were leaving, the dragon opened an eye and scowled. "I don't like cows," he said. "Bring me something else to eat," it said, "or I'll burn your kingdom to the ground." So, the guards ran to a nearby farm and fetched some plump young chickens. "How about these?" said the leader of the guards. "Yuck," said the dragon. "I hate chickens," snarled the dragon. "Bring me something else." The guards left again and came back with pigs and goats instead. Luckily, the dragon liked those. Unluckily, it swallowed them down in a few gulps. "I'm still hungry," it grumbled. "Bring me a princess," roared the dragon. "I want something sweet for a change." "And don't pretend you don't have any princesses," it added, glaring at the guards. "I know the king has a daughter. I saw her as I flew over his castle." "Oh no! The dragon wants to eat the princess. What will they do?" "Bring her to me tomorrow at sunrise," the dragon went on, "or I'll burn the kingdom to the ground." And it let out a burst of white-hot flame to show that it meant what he said. The guards rushed back to tell the king the terrible news. What will they do? What do you think? Let's see. Chapter 3, Princess in Peril. When the king heard the dragon's threat, he went white. I won't allow it, he declared. Not my daughter. But father, I have to go, said the princess, or he'll burn us all. Very noble. The king knew she was right. With a heart as heavy as lead, he ordered his grooms to get the princess's horse ready. Early the next morning, the princess rode to the dragon's cave. It was fast asleep. The princess saw its sharp, pointed teeth and shuddered with fear. As the sun rose over the hills, she heard the sound of hooves. Was it her father, coming to say a last goodbye? Who was it? But it wasn't the king. It was a handsome knight on a beautiful white horse. Hey look, there he is. He carried a long lance in one hand. When he saw her, he gave a cheerful grin. Hello, he said. I'm George. I heard about the dragon, he said. I'm here to help. The princess was overjoyed. Woohoo! Don't be afraid, princess, George yelled. He swished his lance. I'll save you. Thank you, George, the princess whispered. But please, she added, could you be as quiet as possible as you ride closer, or you'll wake the... Roar! Too late. The dragon reared on its scaly legs. It was awake and ready for a fight. Chapter 4, George to the rescue. George whirled around to face the dragon. Flames shot out of its nose. They licked at George, but he didn't move away. Instead, he thrust his lance with a powerful blow. It should have skewered the dragon right through. But the dragon's skin was as hard as diamonds. George's lance bounced off the dragon's belly, pushing George back. He fell from his horse to the ground with a clattering thump. The dragon roared and spat another fiery cloud at George. The princess looked on in terror. Was her rescuer going to need rescuing himself? George started to stagger to his feet. He reached for his lance, ready to charge again. If they do, what will happen? It was no good. George's lance bounced off the dragon's scales, and he fell to the ground once more. George, look! The princess cried all of a sudden. There aren't any scales on its nose. George peered closer. Sure enough, the dragon's nose was soft. It didn't have any scales there at all.
Yeah.
Well spotted, princess, said George. But as he prepared to attack, the dragon began to lash his head from side to side. George looked around and had an idea. Princess, pull off your belt. Tie a loop at the end and pass it to me. The princess was puzzled. What? Do what now? But she did as he asked. Thank you, princess, said George. He swung her belt loop around like a lasso and threw the loop over the dragon's head. Then he pulled it tight and threw the end to the princess. Hold on, ordered George, and leaped onto his horse. Before the dragon knew what was happening, George charged with his sharp lance. With the princess holding the dragon's head, George speared its soft nose. Blood spurted out. The dragon howled in pain. It gave a great roar. It tried to break free, but it was well and truly caught. Now, dragon, said George, I'll let you go if you promise you'll leave this kingdom and never, ever eat a human. The dragon nodded sulkily. But if I hear that you're breaking your promise, said George, pointing to his lance. The dragon took the hint and flew away, as fast as its wings would carry it. The end. But not yet. Here's the ending for real. Chapter 5, A Hero's Reward. George and the princess rode back to the castle and told the king the whole story. You saved my darling daughter, cried the king. How can I ever repay you? He offered George a heap of shining gold coins. You could buy your own castle. No, thank you, said George, shaking his head. Gold is too heavy to carry. I'm on an adventure, said the king, and he offered George a pair of fine horses. Their bridles were studded with gems, and their coats gleamed like moonlight. Thank you, sire, George said, but I have a horse. How about half of my kingdom, said the king, who was running out of ideas. No, thank you, said George politely. All I really want is another adventure. And with that, George rode off into the distance, looking for more dragons to defeat. Here are the stories of George. The George in this story may have been a soldier born in Cappadocia, now in Turkey, in the 3rd century, long time ago. Over the years, lots of different legends grew up about him. Many of these were about a fight with a dragon. In some, the dragon's breath was poisonous, in others, George slayed the dragon on the spot. The story was told aloud for many years before it was written down. It changed along the way as it was told and retold. Here is the story of St. George. One of the earliest versions of George's story appeared in The Golden Legend, a collection of stories about Christian saints written in around 1260. A long time ago. It's an old classic story. A saint is a person who lives a pure, good life. George was made a saint by the Christian Church after he died. George was adopted as the national saint of England in the 13th century. He is a saint of other countries and cities too. This map shows some of them. Here's the map of Europe. He's a saint of England, Barcelona, Portugal, Tenica, Malta, Greece, Georgia, Lithuania, Moscow. So all across the area. It's famous everywhere. His feast day, a type of holy festival, is celebrated across the world, usually on April 23rd. And here is the picture which inspired painters and storytellers of hundreds of years. This is the painting by an Italian artist named Paolo Uccello. He created it in the year 1470. So 200 years after he died, they were still painting his picture and telling his story. And we can see the same picture on this page of the book. Very interesting. If we go to this page here, see this picture? Looks just like this one. See the princess, dragon, she's holding it with his, and there's the lance in his nose. There's the dragon, the princess, the lance in his nose. Here's the cave in the sky. Cave in the sky. Pretty neat. That is all for today. I hope you like this storybook, St. George and the Dragon. It's a bit different from yesterday's book, The Reluctant Dragon, but both are great books to read. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope you keep reading from home. Have a great day. Goodbye.